Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I am not Miss Harvey. I apologize for the crappiness of the microphone. I don't have my headset today, so we're just using the microphone on the speaker. So anyway, we're going to give you the answers here. Follow along as we go through it. Make sure you make your corrections as we go through it. And any mistakes you make a note. First question says 1 2/9 is greater than 1.22. Here, I'll make it a little smaller. So in order for us to compare them, one is in fraction form, one is in decimal form, and you should change them both to the same form. Now you could change them to fractions. You could change 1 2/9 or 1.22 to a fraction, which would be 11/50. But the problem is once you change them to equivalent fractions or fractions, they don't have common denominator. So you need one more step to find a common denominator. But the easiest way to do it, and I'll just drag it down here, is to change 1 2/9 to a decimal. So we know that 1 and 2/9. So we just have to figure out what decimal form is 2/9. So if I grab my calculator and say, what is 2/9 or 2 divided by 9? It's going to say 0.2 repeating. So we're going to put 0.222. Is that greater than 1.22 terminating decimal? Because this, of course, goes on forever. And the answer is yes, it is, because it has all of these place values more than this one, which would have zeros. So the answer is true. Question 2, the square root of 40 plus the square root of 60 is equal to the square root of 100. And this answer is false, and I'll explain why. If we think what the square root of 60 is on a number line, okay, the square root of 60. The square root of 64 is 8. The square root of 49 is 7. So we know that the square root of 60, based on that number line, is going to be 7 decimal something. And we don't really care what it is right now, we're just going to 7 decimal something. Plus, we know that the square root of 40, the square root of 36 is 6, and the square root of 49 is 7. So the square root of 40 would be 6 decimal something. And since we know the square root of 100 is exactly 10, 7 decimal something plus 6 decimal something can't equal 10, does not equal 10, so therefore it has to be false. Question number 3. Is 4/5 plus 2/3 greater than 4/5 times 2/3? And the answer is going to be true, and I'll explain why. When you start with 2/3 and you say 4/5 of 2/3, if you translate the multiplication of those two fractions into the word of, we know that we are getting less than 2/3. So 4/5 of 2/3 is going to be less than 2/3, right? If we think about what the meaning of that multiplication is. So regardless of what the answer to this is, we know it's going to be less than 2/3 because we only have 4/5 of 2/3. And here we're adding to 2/3, we're adding an additional 4/5, which is going to be more than 2/3. So is something that's more than 2/3 greater than something that's less than 2/3? Yes, it is. Now, an alternative way to do that is just work it out, find a common denominator. But if we stop and pause for a second and really think about what does the multiplication of two fractions means, then it makes sense that this answer here is going to be less than 2/3, and therefore this is going to be more. Question 4, we have a bed mass question. Is this bed mass greater than the other bed mass? I'll bring this down here. Well, let's work it out. -10 plus -8 is going to have a sum of -18 if I follow bed mass. Is this greater than -10 take away, 4 divided by -20? Now we got something that's tricky. 4 divided by -20, 4 divided by -20, or in lowest terms, 1/5. Okay, if we think of it as a fraction and not as a division, 4 divided by 20 is going to be 1/5, and as a decimal, that's going to be 0.2, -0.2. I grab the calculator just to double check. 4 divided by 20 is 0.2. And if we keep flip change, we're going to have -9.8 as our difference there, if we keep flip change. And therefore, is -18 greater than -9.8? No, it's not. So your answer is false. Question 5, a cube with an edge length of 4 centimeters. So I'm going to draw this first, a cube. And if you did this, you probably drew the cube with an edge length of 4 centimeters. Has a surface area of 64 centimeters squared. So 2 ways to do it. You could have used a formula. And since there are 6 faces that are squared, you could use 6 sides squared. Or you could have drawn a net. Those who are comfortable with the math probably did the formula. And if you did the formula, 6 multiplied by 4 squared, or 6 faces that are 16 each, that is 96 square centimeters, which proves this to be false. Or, since each of these faces is 16, you could have added 6 faces of 16 together to get also 96 centimeters squared. But either way you did it, it's false. Question 6, the value of x in the equation 10 minus 4x is equal to negative 6 will be negative. Well, multiple ways you could solve it. The easiest way is just to simplify for x, since it does equal a negative value. So I'm going to get rid of the constant first by subtracting 10. Then I'm going to divide both by the coefficient. And I get x is equal to 4. Is that a negative value? No, it's not. So your answer is false. Your 7th question, same type of question, so we're going to write down the equation. First thing I'm going to do is get rid of your constant, which is 3, by subtracting 3 from both sides. Then I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 10. And I end up with x is equal to positive 20. Is that true? Yes, it is. It is a positive value. Question 8, real easy question. In fact, this would be taken from probably a grade 6 or 5 textbook. Is the mixed fraction 2 3/8 greater than the improper fraction of 19/7? Well, let's check. So there's 2 ways to do it. The way I would do it here is I just change this fraction into improper. That's going to be 19/8. Is 19/8 greater than 19/7? So let's look at this for a second. Is 1/8 greater than 1/7? Let's make it an easier question. So if we think about that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there's 1/8. And if I take that same size and do 1, 2, 6, is 1/7 greater than 1/8? It is. So 1/8 is less than 1/7. So therefore 19 of them is still going to be less than 19/7. So your answer is false. It is not greater than. Question 9, the cost of a $12 poster with 15% HST is less than $14. So if you think of a $12 poster, and if I think about it as being this amount here, okay? So actually we won't bother with the picture, we'll just do $12. $12 plus, if I think about what is 15% of $12, and 15% as a fraction is 15 hundredths, as a decimal, it's 15 hundredths of the multiplication. So in order for us to figure out 15% of $12, or what is the tax, I can use a calculator to figure out 15%. 15% of $12 is $1.80. So the HST is $1.80. Added on to this means the cost is $13.80. Is that less than $14? Yes, it is. Now, the easier way to do it, instead of finding it in 2 steps, if I was to think, you could have done it in 1 step and saying, if I know 100% is $12 and 15% is $1.80, then 115% is what I'm going to pay for that poster, which would be $13.80. So instead of doing it this way, 100% is multiplying it by 1. 15% is the decimal 1.5. So instead of doing it in 2 steps, if I took that 115% of $12, I would get my answer of $13.80 in 1 step rather than 2. And finally, your last question, if a $40 sweater is discounted 15%, then charged 15% tax on the discounted price, it will still be $15 or $40. The answer is false, and I'll show you why. So if a $40 sweater is discounted 15%, what is 15% of $40? Well, 15% of $40. Well, 10% is $4, 5% is $2, so that would be $6. So if it's discounted $6, then we say $40 minus the $16 or $6 discount. The cost of the sweater is now $34 after the discount. If we then say you have to pay 15%, and 15% of $34, if I put 15% of $34, it's $5.10. Add that on to $34, or it's not $3.40. Add that on to $34. So the cost of the discounted sweater plus the $5.10 HST would be $38.10 as opposed to $40. So the answer is false. Okay, thanks for watching the answer video. Be sure to wash your hands, maintain good social distancing, and now that the weather's fine and you can get outside and you don't have to let your parents drive you crazy, don't let those boomer parents of yours drive you crazy.